the show after that, I'm not going to cover too much of it because I didn't bother to look up anything for it because no one's going to watch it, but I did want to mention Infinite T-Force, a full 3D CG anime project to celebrate the 55th anniversary of Tatsunoko Productions. The anime has a different story from the original manga. I tend to watch shows that are like the anniversary productions of studios because they tend to be passion projects. I actually do want to watch this, but the problem is I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be able to find it anywhere, which is why I didn't bother to write staff for it, because odds are no one's going to be able to watch it, at least as far as English-speaking audiences goes. Probably shit out of luck, even if you're interested in that. So, if you can find out where it is, like, fucking find an easy way to find it, let me know, but probably can't find it at all. Anyways, the show after that is Just Because. The original anime Just Because focuses on subtly portraying the feelings of a group of high school students nearing graduation near the end of second semester at third year, when students have very little time in high school left and are just waiting for graduation. The appearance of a new transfer student begins to change what remains of their high school lives just as they are about to graduate. So it seems like kind of an interesting show. You know, a couple of people about to graduate high school. There could be a lot of like that feeling of like quite a few different feelings. Some people are excited to go off on after high school. Other people are like confused. They don't really know what they want to do. It's a very interesting time in people's lives because some people know what they want to do. They're like ready for it. Other people are like kind of like, well, I didn't care much for high school, but I don't really know what I want to do after this. So like they're like lost. They don't really know what they want to do. So it's just an interesting time period, which is why it's unsurprising that it tends to get covered a lot in dramas as far as that kind of chunk right there of time. But yeah, the studio behind this, Pine Jam, they did Gamers last season, and I didn't write anything else. I don't know if they did anything before Gamers or if it was just like random side stuff. A lot of studios tend to do like little tiny OVAs or like flash animation shorts or like just kind of like small little special projects before they do actual TV shows. I just wrote down that Pine Jam did Gamers last season. I don't know why. Maybe just to let you know what the studio was. I should have mentioned if they did stuff before that. Didn't really think ahead. The director on this is brand new. Hasn't done anything. Although again, like I said, like it's anime website, so maybe they directed like a video game or they directed fucking live action stuff. I have no idea. Wouldn't be surprised if like a drama director was on board for this, but again, I don't actually know. They could be very brand new. They could have done other stuff. No clue. The writer behind this is Hajime Kamoshida, who is a light novel author. His current project that he's doing is Seishun Butayaro series. And yes, the series is actually part of the title. The title is Seishun Butayaro series. Don't know why it's part of the title, but whatever. He's been doing it since 2014. But most people will probably know him for writing Sakuraso no Pet no Kanojo, which is a very interesting show because it seems like I can never find anyone in the middle ground for it. I mean, there's a couple people, but for the most part, people either really like Sakuraso or they really don't. Haven't watched it myself, but I've heard both the positive and negative, so don't really have an opinion. But there you go, just something to know as far as who's writing this. The person on music is Erika Fukusawa, who's never done anime stuff before. I looked up, she actually had a website, which was interesting, and it seemed it was pretty much all Japanese, so it was hard for me to like understand, although there were a couple English words here and there. It seems like she mainly does orchestra, like, what is it? Not composing, but conducting, I think? Maybe she composes instead of conducting, but she does like orchestra concerts, it seems. At least that's what I got from her website. And also if you find like the about page of like work she's done, she has a couple like SoundCloud pieces of music she's done. And they're kind of like soothing jazz style, like the kind of music you'd like be in a cafe and listen to and relax to, kind of. Very interesting music. I'm interested in the show. Originally, just because as a yellow, because I didn't know much about the Sakuraso writer, I was like, maybe I'll watch it, maybe I won't, I'll listen for opinions. But after seeing Erika Fukusawa's site and like some of the stuff she's done, I want to watch Pine Jam just because of the music. I'm interested in what she does. Musically, I imagine this isn't the kind of show that's going to ask for like cafe smooth jazz or relaxed jazz or whatever. But I'm still interested. She seems interesting. So I want to watch. Next show is Osama Game the Animation, which is King's Game the Animation. The story begins with when an entire high school class of 32 people receive a message on their cell phone from a person they only know as King. known only as the king. The messages contain orders that the students must obey or they risk the punishment of death. With their lives on the line, the students soon find out that the orders are getting more and more extreme as time goes on. Hopefully I've edited most of them out, but I'm coughing quite a bit, so I'm trying to go through these a little quicker. So yeah, this is based on a mobile game. I, for some reason, didn't write down... Oh no, I did write the staff. It's right here. I'm an idiot. This started as a cell phone... It's not a cell phone game. It's a cell phone novel. Which, if you didn't know, is basically novels written in, like, very short chapters. They have to fit in a text, a single text, basically. So, that's what a cell phone novel is, basically. The studio behind this, 7, is interesting. They did stuff like, I can't understand what my husband is saying. My wife is the student council president. So, like, shorts and then kind of loot stuff. But most of their credit is straight up hentai. The studio has done a ton of hentai. In fact, they have one coming out on November 24th, which is a sequel to one that they did earlier called Bakuane 2. So, I don't know why I'm telling you this, but I mean, it's just interesting. It's a porn studio that's doing this. I mean, mostly a porn studio. They're doing some other stuff. The director behind this did Oji-san to Marshmallow. That was either all they did or the most noticeable thing, because I didn't write anything else. Exciting. The sound director on this also did Oji-san, along with some other stuff, so the director may have brought him along. The series comp on this did Servamp, Blood Lad, and Bokuro wa Mi no Kwaiso, or people may know it as Quite Complex Guide to Manners and Hostile Behavior, which I think people actually liked quite a bit. That was God, it had to have been like a year ago. So people like that, I think. So the series comp is the same person doing that. I've heard some stuff about this already, not very positive things. So, you know, maybe that's a thing already, as far as people not liking it. But, I mean, I wrote down information anyways, so, I mean, I can only say what I've heard. After that, we have Dynamic Chord. The project follows the musical careers and personal lives of several bands under the Dynamic Chord agency and music label. Another music show. So again, I didn't really bother to write anything. Because again, people will know if they want to watch this or not. It's that kind of genre sort of thing. So you probably already know if you want to watch this. Although interesting that Studio Pierrot is doing it. Although they have a decent amount of like subsections of staff. So I guess it's not too surprising they're doing a couple things here and there. That's kind of weird. But yeah, you probably already know if you want to watch it or not. And it's based on a video game. So it's just a video game adaptation of like a music show. We get a lot of idol shows nowadays because that's the hot money maker. If you manage to strike just the right thing, you make shitloads of money. Anyways, after that we have I'm just gonna say the English title because I'm not gonna try and pronounce the Japanese. Although it's probably not that hard. It's just Shoujo Shumatsu Ryoko. But it translates to Girl's Last Tour. Civilization is dead, but Cheeto and Yuri are still alive, so they hop aboard their beloved Kettenkrad motorbike and aimlessly wander the ruins of the world they once knew. Day after hopeless day, they look for their next meal and fuel for their ride, but as long as the two are together, even an existence as bleak as theirs has a ray or two of sunshine in it, whether they're sucking down their fill of soup or hunting for machine parts to tinker with. For two girls in a world full of nothing, the experience and feelings the two share give them something to live for. Oh, that's from Yen Press? Ooh, Yen Press must have licensed the manga. Nice. Yen Press gets a lot of cool licenses. Sorry, just a side comment I wanted to mention. So the first thing you'll probably notice is that this is White Fox doing this. White Fox is a pretty cool studio, although it's kind of weird. It seems like every other season they do a good show. I mean, ever since ReZero, they've had well, actually, not even ReZero. It was Steins Gate. They got the eyes on them because they did Steins Gate. And they didn't really do anything too noticeable after that. Some shows that were okay, but people didn't really care for. And then they did ReZero, and everyone's like, whoa, that was awesome. And then they did some other stuff, and people were like, yeah, whatever. So Silverlink's kind of weird. Or not Silverlink, White Fox. They're kind of weird. They put out a couple, like, every once in a while, they just put out a good show. Everyone's like, whoa, that's awesome. But this one seems like it could be pretty good, based on staff stuff I wrote down. The director for this only directed one other thing, which was the Persona 5 OVA, which was called Daybreakers, although I think the full title was like Persona 5 Daybreakers, something like that. However, they were director of photography for some other shows, which is kind of a weird title in anime, but maybe they are the people who go out and like photograph environments, for like shows that they then like draw based on those pictures. That's just my guess. I don't actually know what the director of photography does. I need to look it up. It's one of those things where like I've learned more and more about like the production process of like anime and stuff as I do these videos, but there's still things I need to learn. Director of photography is one of those things. I don't really know what the director of photography does at anime. But anyways, they did director of photography for some other stuff. Probably most notable was Sora no Woto, which I think people like that a decent amount, so he did the director of photography on that. The sound director on this show is Jin Akutagawa, the one sound director I keep my eye on, who's them again, they all do shitloads of shows, but Jin Akutagawa is the one I keep my eye on because he's done stuff like basically all the shows that like I don't really pay too much attention to the sound in shows, like they're just kind of there, like a sound happens and it was like, yep, that's a sound that just registers in my brain. But whenever a sound is like, whoa, that was good sound design, whenever like I have that kind of thought, it's always a show that Jin Akutagawa was sound director on. For example, he did Ars Hosenki, which was really hampered by really poor animation, except in one-on-one fights. Ars Hosenki actually had really good animation in one-on-one fights. It was just anything beyond one-on-one, like it was just a shit show animation-wise. But it made up a lot for that with great sound design. Like all the hits were like visceral and like crunchy and like they sounded like they hurt. So it made up for the poor animation. So it really made up for that. He also did the sound directing for Your Lie in April, which not as much as far as an action show, but it's Your Lie in April. Lots of music and all kinds of, I don't know as far as general sounds goes. I don't know if he was also sound director as like musical stuff, but Your Lie in April was a very soundy show. It's the dumbest description I've ever said. He also did the sound directing for Shakugan no Shana, which is favorite series of all time. Great sounds in that, especially the third season. And then also did sound design for Re:Zero, which I think most people know as that show with like some pretty crazy sound effects. I don't want to get into specifics because of spoilers in case people somehow haven't watched it, but you know there's a lot of stuff that happens in Re:Zero that has some pretty intense and interesting sound effects behind it. Jin Akutagawa, man, he is the one sound director to keep my eye on. He does good shit. So pretty solid dude on this show. And then also the music is being done by Kenichiro Suehiro. Probably mispronounced that. I'm very sorry if you ever see this somehow. He's done a couple shows, but the most noticeable is Re:Zero. And the reason he hasn't done a lot of other shows is because, if you didn't know, before Re:Zero, he mainly made dramas. He did music for live-action drama shows. He doesn't really do anime. And they brought him on board to do Re:Zero because the director specifically told him, he's like, we want you to, like, not change your style that much. We want really dramatic music for Re:Zero. Like, they specifically wanted him to avoid animeifying the music too much, basically. They wanted to avoid a lot of, like, the common anime-style music tropes. So they were like, just keep it dramatic, like you normally do. And I think everyone liked Re:Zero's music quite a lot. So, again, though, important to keep in mind, director tends to decide what the music is. So, not a guarantee it's going to be, you're going to like the music in Girls Last Tour as much as you like Re:Zero. It may be a different style, maybe it won't be, maybe you just won't like it as much. You never know for sure, but it's just something to keep in mind, because it's never a guarantee. And then the series comp on this is the same guy who's doing Black Clover. So he did like Monster Musume and shit. So, just a couple shows here and there, not really that notable. But I want to watch this alone just because I like White Fox, I like the sound director, and I like the guy doing the music. So, sounds like a good time to me, as far as what it'll bring in. I really need to, I did this every season. I'm like, I want to go through this quickly, but I really actually need to speed this up. Next show is Nechu no Susume, which translates to Recovery of an MMO Junkie, which is a great title. Moriko Morioka, what a name, is a 30-year-old single neat woman. After dropping out from reality, she has taken off in search of for a fulfilling life and ended up in a net game or netoge. In the netoge world, she began her new life as a refreshing and handsome character named Hayashi. While starting out as a beginner, a pretty character named Lily reached out to help her. Meanwhile, in the real world awaits a shocking encounter with a good-looking elite company employee and mysterious blue-eyed blonde. So, you may be able to tell from the promo image, and it's not really a spoiler because it's the premise of the show. She plays the pretty dude who's in the bottom right, the blue-haired dude. The guy next to her, the business-looking guy, plays the girl that she meets in the game. So they play gender swap versions in the game, and then that's like the main twist. Is that's it. I don't know if there's anything beyond that, but that's like the main premise of the show. Is they play gender swap characters in the net game, and then they meet each other, and then they bond. I guess I don't know much beyond that. But I checked some staff notes. The director's done some episode directing here and there, but he mostly did key animation for a bunch of stuff. So primarily an animation background. So this doesn't seem like the kind of show where an animation background's gonna matter. As far it doesn't seem like I mean, I guess like if they do something in game, maybe something will be cool animation wise. But other than that, I can't imagine in the real world like anything crazy animation wise is gonna happen. Series comp on this is yet again the same guy as Black Clover and Girls Last Tour we just covered. I don't know what's going on. This dude's getting around this season. He's doing like 3 of these shows. He did Black Clover, Girls Last Tour, and now this. I think this is the last show he's doing. It's like, Jesus Christ, this dude gets around. The music guy on this did basically all of the Hetalia stuff and also Line Barrels of Iron, if you remember that show from a while ago. I think that show was a big deal a while ago. I saw ads for it all over the place. Whenever I'd get like anime on DVD and shit like that, like there was almost always an advertisement for Line Barrels of Iron and like everything I watched. I think it was mainly because of like Death Note and Code Geass. That was like the era when it aired and everyone's like, get this show too. But that could have just been Funimation's advertising, going like, watch this please. Anyways, so that's that show. I'm not too interested because it seems like the twist is kind of like one note and don't really care. The show after that is Kino no Tabi, The Beautiful World, the animated series. Which the only Japanese in that is Kino's Journey, The Beautiful World, the animated series. So if you didn't know, Kino's Journey is a show beloved by a lot of people from, God, forever ago. I don't remember what year it came out, but it was old. But everyone who watched it loves it, basically. And now they're remaking it. It's not a strict remake. Not the director, the person who writes Kino's Journey, the light novel. I'm pretty sure Kino's Journey is a light novel. I mean, it says it right there. I could have just double checked before saying that. The writer for that basically said that this is a remake, but you're not going to see exactly the same stuff as the last Kino's Journey anime. There may be they may go to some of the, I'll explain in a minute, but Kino may go to some of the same countries as the first show, but there's also going to be new ones. So there may be some repeats. I think by saying that he's basically confirming there are going to be a couple, but there's also going to be new ones. But mostly it's just new. I didn't write too much as far as the staff goes, and I'll explain why after I cover it. The director for this did Twin Star Exorcists, which, as lacking as that show was in various areas, although it was like 50 episodes long, I did not expect that show to be 50 episodes, and I stuck through the whole thing, because I was like 30 episodes in, I was like, well, may as well finish it. That's mainly the writing, and like just the fluff. There was the whole like 13 episodes of like a filler season that was just a filler arc. I mean, it was just pointless. Those were my main issues behind it. The directing was actually great. I actually really liked the directing in Twin Star Exorcist. So the director behind this show is actually really cool. Music guy on this did Nagi no Asakura, Gamers, and Flying Witch, probably is the most noticeable. So tone-wise, probably a perfect fit for a show like Kino's Journey. But that's all I wrote for staff, because honestly, I'm going to tell you, it doesn't matter who's doing this. You need to watch Kino's Journey. It's that simple. Like, it doesn't matter what taste in shows you have or anything like that. Just, you need to watch Kino's Journey. Because if you don't know what Kino's Journey is, the common way that people describe Kino's Journey to people who haven't seen it is that it's basically the anime version, although, I mean, it started as a light novel, but it's basically anime Aesop's Fables. The whole point is that Kino is a traveler and goes to various countries and stays in them for 3 days at most. Usually for 3 days. I don't remember if there's any that were like earlier or later or whatever. And all of these countries tend to be defined by like one specific idea. Like either it's a law or just like a way of life that the people have done, or like some weird magical shit that's been introduced to like make the country like focus in a certain direction. There's always like tends to be one specific thing, like concept behind each country. And they use that to kind of explore the ideas around it, and then it usually ends in a moral. Because it's, like I said, it's Aesop's Fables. It's like a very specific environment that involves a very specific event and then tells a moral. And the thing with Kino's Journey is Sometimes you'll get the moral, sometimes you won't. Sometimes you'll agree with the moral, sometimes you won't. But it's just one of those shows where, like, you just sort of have to watch it. I can't even tell you the perfect time to watch it. The best time to watch a show like Kino's Journey is not necessarily right before you go to sleep, but like a little bit before. It's the perfect, like, relaxed kind of show that, like, makes you think, but not, like, incredibly so. Like it's not full of symbolism or anything like that. Because it's Aesop's Fable, so it's not like incredibly. It's one of those shows that has a lot of interesting ideas, but it's not like complicated. It's hard to explain because a lot of complicated shows that they think of sophisticated ideas is like the problem with them is that they're too complicated, or like not complicated. They're too confusing, I guess. I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's like it's almost I'm stumbling over my words here, and this is gonna make it take even longer. Like sometimes people can't grasp what the show's saying. Basically, like the symbolism's too complicated, or the writing is too vague, or something like that. Like, and people can't get it. You will get Kino's Journey. Sometimes you won't get what the moral is, but even if you don't, even if you don't get what the moral is trying to say, you'll still get what it's trying to make you think about. And sometimes that is the moral. Sometimes there isn't a straight up moral in what happens in Kino's Journey. Sometimes it's just there to make you think about an idea, about a way of mind. And like I said, whether you agree with it or not, or you even see what the moral is, whether there is one or not, it's just interesting. It's a show that you have to watch because it's so interesting. You can't help but like watch it and just like think about it. It gives you such interesting ideas that you don't really get from anywhere else, and such like I don't want to say simple, but like an easy to digest, I guess, package like Kino's Journey does, because it's simple while conveying interesting ideas, which is something kind of hard to do, but Kino's Journey nails. You should absolutely watch it. The only issue I have, well, not issue, but like worry I have about the show is like the actual modernization of it. I worry could be an issue. Because if you didn't know, and this is going to be a really weird, positive way to describe something, the original Kino's Journey anime is boring. And I mean that in a positive way. Because, like, there's very little animation, like, it's all straightforward, the colors are very diluted, the voice acting is very, like, straightforward, like, there's not too much dynamic emotion, like, everyone largely just says the line, it's very straightforward, but that almost fits a show because it's very relaxed and straightforward, and you just watch what happens and it makes you think. And you don't want to get distracted too much with like dramatization, you know? Because dramatization can skew a moral or thought process or something like that. You know, by having it be straightforward and not having like any like emotional conflict because of dramatization, it helps you focus on the thought process there. And so I'm worried about how modernizing the show with like fancy animation and more intense voice acting and stuff like that could skew possible morals. I watched the first episode and it was very good. I don't think it was, I don't want to use the word ruined. I don't think it was lowered at all because of the modernizations at all. It's just something I want to keep my eye on. Although with the director of Twin Star Exorcist behind this, I think there'll be some dramatization, but it won't ever go too far. Definitely the point of the show is to modernize Kino's Journey for a modern audience. It's keeping the same kind of relaxed tone of like going to these places and being thoughtful, while at the same time being nice to look at. Because that's probably the problem with the original Kino's Journey, is it's hard to watch because, like I said, it's boring in both a positive and negative way. It's very like straightforward and relaxing, but the problem is it can also put you to sleep because it's so like straightforward and like not too dynamic. But yeah, I rambled a bit too much. Basically, watch Kino's Journey. Do it. There's like no ifs, ands, or buts about this. Watch Kino's Journey. You should do it. There's no reason not to. The perfect time to watch it because it's a relaxing show. Like I said, maybe it's not for everyone, but for me, I find the perfect time to watch a show like this is not too long before going to sleep, because that's the perfect time when like your mind's in the right place for like a relaxed kind of show that makes you think, and then you can go to bed, you know, kind of thinking about it. So that's just my opinion, though. Anyways, we need to get through some stuff faster. So the next episode, or next episode, the next show is Love Live Sunshine 2, second season of Love Live Sunshine. Second season, you know, if you want to watch it or not. After that is Daizire. I've been calling it Daizire, but that's probably the wrong pronunciation. May 1st, 1945, Berlin. As the Red Army raises the Soviet flag, a group of Nazi officers conduct a ritual using the slaughter in the city to bring back the LDO, Supermen whose coming would bring the world to destruction. Their success remains unknown. Present day, Suwahara City. Ren Fuji spends his days at the hospital due to a violent fight with his best friend Shiro. He tries to value what he has left to him, but he is haunted by Shiro's words. Everyone who remains in this city eventually loses their minds, and a recurring dream of a guillotine, murderers, and the black-clad knights pursuing them. So the interesting thing about this is that this anime was actually fundraised, because this was originally a visual novel from 2007, and they did a fundraising campaign to get an anime. I don't think it was like Kickstarted. It was like a Japanese style fundraising to get an anime adaptation of it, and the fundraiser made. I already converted it so that everyone would understand how much it is. It made like $800,000. So obviously that's like fucking like 80 million yen, something like that. Probably a little over 80 million yen. Or maybe under, because it was around $800,000. $800,000 for this anime adaptation is crazy. So that's how much money it made. So there's a very passionate fan base behind this, clearly. The original writer for this show, or the visual novel, is also writing this version of it. Music guy who did the visual novels also did the music for this. And then the director for this did Magic Kaido 1412, which I liked a lot. And then also the 3 Marduk Scramble movies. So I never watched the Marduk Scramble movies, but I hear about Marduk Scramble here and there, so maybe people like it. But I like Magic Kaido 1412. It was one of my favorite shows, actually. I liked it a lot. Well, my favorite shows from that year. I don't want to go too crazy. So staff-wise and like how much passion there is behind the show is like kind of why I put it yellow. Like I kind of want to watch it, but at the same time, I don't know if I'll care enough about it. I just kind of put it there. Moving on to the next show. I want to get through these quicker. Code Realize, Sosei no Himegami. Himegimi, actually, not Himegami. Restricted to an abandoned mansion in the outskirts of London in fulfillment of a promise to her father, lonely Cardia lives day to day isolated from the world. Her body carries a deadly poison that rots or melts anything her skin touches, prompting the locals to call her a monster. One day, her quiet solitude is interrupted as the royal guards break in to capture her. It is then that Cardia meets Arsène Lupin, a chivalrous thief. A chivalrous thief who helps her escape the soldiers' clutches. She soon finds herself on a journey with Lupin to locate her father, who holds the answers to her mysterious condition. So seeing as the source of this is Axis Games, it's actually published by, video game published by Axis. This is definitely, shoujo? Shoujo, probably shoujo, yeah. It's definitely, targeted for a female audience. It says video game, but it might have been, no, it's probably, I was gonna say maybe a visual novel, but it would have said visual novel if that was the case. Definitely a shoujo style video game. I'm wondering what the kind of gameplay was in it then, if it wasn't a visual novel. Anyways, the studio behind this MSC has mainly done random Prince of Tennis stuff, like the OVAs, but they also did the new Prince of Tennis season, along with the newer OVAs, but that was in collaboration with Production IG, so they didn't do it on their own. So this is the first show I think they're doing, first actual show that they're doing on their own, so interesting. The director on this directed New Prince of Tennis, along with Strike the Blood stuff, the first season, second season, and OVA. But mainly did episode directing and storyboarded a bunch of stuff. He directed the 6th episode of ReZero, which is just one of the episodes where Subaru's in the mansion. I think it was the episode where he's trying to figure out what's going on with the killer. It's the one where he leaves the mansion and then waits, and then it ends with the killer, quote unquote, showing up and attacking him. I was just gonna straight up talk about ReZero, and then I realized that there's a possibility some people hadn't seen it. Don't know how. You should watch ReZero if you haven't. Series comp on this show did Konbini Koreshi last season, if anyone watched that, along with season 1 and the OVA of Starmue. Probably also the second season, but there was no credit on who did the series composition for the second season of Starmue, so that was kind of weird. So kind of stuff that people liked behind that. Starmue has a decent audience behind it. It's another music show though, so it kind of makes sense. The music behind this is Ryo Takahashi, who did Classroom of the Elite last season. Did Aka before that? I don't know if it's Aka or you say ACCA, but I'm just gonna say Aka. Did Aka before that, and then also Please Tell Me Galko-chan, and is also doing 2-car this season, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Yeah, that's that show. I'm trying to get through this quicker. Next episode, or not next episode, next show is the second season of Hosenki no Urotetsu, which I didn't think would get a second season, but I guess it's probably more for a Japanese audience anyways, so probably had enough audience there that I got a second season. I don't think English-speaking audiences really cared for Hosenki no Urotetsu, so hey. After that we have Hosenki no Kuni, which I believe translates to Land of the Lustrous, which is actually a very pretty title. In the distant future, a new life form called Hosenki, which translates to gems, are born. The 28 Hosenki must fight against the moon dwellers who want to attack them and turn them into decorations. Thus, each gem is assigned a role, such as a fighter or a medic. Though he hopes to fight the moon dwellers, Foes is a gem who is given no assignment until the gem's master, Adamantine, asks him to edit a natural history magazine. So this is adapted from a manga. What's interesting behind this immediately is that this is being done by Orange, which is a studio that's done like high-class CG for other stuff. Like, for example, the Kodigas Akito the Exiled OVAs, like the mecha fights in that was Studio Orange. The mecha fights in Majestic Prince, that was Studio Orange. So typically they do mecha fights, but they're very good at 3D CG. And this show is also entirely, that leads into the fact that this show is 3D CG. It doesn't bother you that much. Typically 3D CG is only bad, or like noticeably bad, wonky-ish, I guess I should say, when it's when people are 3D CG, because then they like look weird, because I mean, even when it's anime, they're supposed to look like people, so when they're 3D CG, it's like, and it's kind of unnerving. But these aren't really people, they're like weird gem people. So like it kind of works. It isn't like, it's not that just like, that was a word salad. It's not too unnerving, I guess, because they're already kind of weird, so them being CG is like not that kind of awkward, because they're not actually people, they're like gem creatures, even though they look like people, whatever. Anyways, the director behind this did Love Live, both seasons of it and the OVA, along with some of the music videos, actually, maybe even all of them, including the incredibly popular Snow Halation. However, this director didn't do the Sunshine season, or probably the second season either. Didn't cover those, but did the original Love Live, both of those seasons with the OVA. And then also directed the first and second seasons of Gate, which people liked. So, director that people like. Although again, I don't know if they liked Gate because of the directing. So, or even Love Live because of the directing. So, director did some popular shows, but not necessarily may have been because of the directing. So, there's that. Script and series comp on this guy did both, did the same, did script and series comp for both seasons of Gatchaman Crowds. Although it's important to know that with Kenji Nakamura as the director, he's very involved, so a lot of the work on the script and series comp could have also come from Kenji Nakamura, because he's very involved in the works he does, so don't know how much credit to give the guy for the script and series composition for both seasons of Gatchaman Crowds. But he also did Magic Item 1412 and Perfect Insider, which were very weird shows. Well, not Magic Item 1412, but Perfect Insider was a very weird show. I don't know how many people watch Perfect Insider, but I think people liked it. It was kind of weird. And then the music guy on this also did the same Love Live shows as the director, and also did the Gate season, so I guess the director just brought the music guy. And then the music guy also did Dimension W, the No Game No Life movie, and Rail Wars. So kind of all over the place, really. But if you like those music, something to keep in mind.